From Los Angeles, I'm Eddie Garcia. He's Doug Stolhand. Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Puck Podcast. It is Monday, December 1st, 2025. This is the first period of a three-period podcast. First period, which some of you are watching on YouTube. We'll cover all the news from the past week in the NHL. And we will also let you know about a team that apparently has already given up on the season. Second period, we'll be reviewing all of the games from the past week in the NHL, and I mean all of them. And in the third period, it'll be our fan feedback segment. We read listener emails. We have our off-ice report telling you what's going on in our lives. You can catch all three periods on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you're seeing on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And also join us over on the podcast.
The Puck Podcast is the original hockey podcast and has been the NHL's unofficial show of record for 20 years now, launching in July of 2006 and posting at least one show every single week since then. We cover the entire league equally, so wherever the biggest story is, that is where we go to cover it, regardless of market size or history of the franchise or anything, or personal preference even. So for that, let's start off with the big story in the league. And unfortunately, it is a team that is not doing well. And for that, let's get it back over to Eddie Garcia.
Thank you, Doug Stolhan. And yeah, there is a very small list of teams that you would say are not doing well, or you would say appear to be well on their way to being sellers this year. And it's been a fun, exciting season so far. There are a lot of teams that feel like they're in contention for playoff spots, and that, of course, will translate into, we think, a lot more buyers than sellers this season. So maybe those teams that are sellers are wanting to get the word out a little bit sooner than others. Don't know about that. But anyway, the big story this week concerned the Vancouver Canucks, as Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman reporting the Canucks are apparently now listening to offers on most of their players. He termed it veteran players. What constitutes a veteran player is an interesting question. Of course, that immediately got everyone asking, does that mean Quinn Hughes? He's certainly a younger player, but he's definitely a veteran player. Apparently, the answer to that is no. It does not include Quinn Hughes, but most everyone else apparently could be available. So looking at the Vancouver Canucks, what do you think is attractive as far as what is on their roster? And what do you think about them apparently getting the word out that they want it to be known of the small group of teams that maybe consider themselves already, this is not going to happen, it's not going to be our year, maybe wanted to get ahead of the pack a little bit?
Well, if you look at their roster, and we'll go through it in the three groups: forwards, defensemen, and then goalies. Let's start with the players that either have a no movement clause or a no trade clause. So, meaning those players have either full control or some control over where they go. And that includes Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, Jake DeBrusk, Evander Kane, Drew O'Connor for some reason, Teddy Bluger for some reason. And so those players control either where they go or whether they go anywhere or not. The only player of interest, excuse me, on that list that is not protected is Connor Garland. But Connor Garland just signed an extension that kicks in next year that takes him through 2032 at the average price of $6 million per year. So he's not a rental. You're getting him for the next 7 years if you trade for him right now. Now, on defense, players with no movement or no trade clauses include Philip Roenick, Marcus Patterson, the other one, and Tyler Myers. So again, those players control where they go. The only one that is not on that list is Quinn Hughes, who they say is not available. And then in net, you've got the injured Thatcher Demko, who also has a contract extension in place that pays him $8.5 million for the next 3 years that starts after this season. And his backup, Kevin Lankinen, has a no movement clause. So if he doesn't want to go anywhere, he doesn't. So what does that leave you with when you look back at their roster and say, Okay, I'm an interested buyer. I'd like to peruse your shelves. What do you have available? Oh, can I interest you in a Philip Hedel? He's on injured reserve. How about a Niels Hoglander? He's on injured reserve. Kiefer Sherwood, that's an interesting piece because he's only signed for this year. He's 1.5 million. He's a very physical player, led the league in hits last year, has been off to a good offensive start as far as scoring goals. He doesn't pass much, but he can give you some bottom 6 minutes physical play and some offensive contributions. That's the most attractive piece at forward. On defense, if Quinn Hughes isn't available, then good day, sir. You got nothing here. This is a garage sale, and I'm not interested. Nobody is banging the door for Pierre Olivier Joseph at this point. That's not going to help anybody. Elias Pettersson is the one I should have said the other, but he's still a young player, not going to help a team looking to go deep in the playoffs. And Tom Melander, same thing. So those are out. And then in net, if I'm looking for an upgrade in net, I don't know that Nikita Tolopolo is the guy to go to. So there's nothing here, is basically the price. So unless they are getting people to waive no movement clauses or no trade clauses, I don't see, and a lot of these players have long-term contracts. I mean, Jake DeBrusk is signed to 2031, Brock Besser until 2032, Elias Pettersson, EP40, who had probably the goal of the week and maybe goal of the year this past week. He's signed to 2032. There's not a lot of rentals here that make me lick my chops and wish my team could go out and get them. The piece is Quinn Hughes. Now, the problem for the Canucks is they committed to these players. So they have Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, and Jake DeBrusk and Connor Garland until the 2030s, 2031 or 2032. They have Quinn Hughes and Philip Roenick and Marcus Pettersson until 2031 or 2032. Those aren't moving. And they have Kevin Lankinen signed until 2030 for some reason. So this team is what it is, and they need to change the bottom pieces, the surrounding pieces, the complementary pieces. Now, the big piece is, of course, Quinn Hughes, and they know whether he's interested in re-signing an extension. He cannot sign an extension yet. He is signed through next season at $7.85 million. So he will not be eligible to sign a contract extension until July 1st, whether it's with the Canucks or whatever team he's on. So we don't know his desire to stay in Vancouver. He is their captain. He is by far their best player. He's 26 years old, and he's one of the elite defensemen in the league. So if they were to say, we are accepting offers for Quinn Hughes, every team would call. All of them. I don't care where you are in your franchise's path as being a contender or a rebuild. You're calling about a 26-year-old elite defenseman that's signed for another year after beyond this season and could either be retained, signed long-term, or could then be used as a trade piece of your own, much like we saw with Mikko Rantanen. If it doesn't work out and he doesn't want to stay there long-term, you can flip him for other pieces. It's worked out very well for the Hurricanes, worked out very well for the Avalanche. And the Avalanche got ahead of Mikko Rantanen. They knew he's not going to sign here. Let's get him out of here and get some good pieces for him. And they got a very nice piece for him. Marty Necas has worked out very well and is signed long-term. So I get that they don't want to trade Quinn Hughes, but if you don't trade him, then there's nothing there of value. You're not going to get a lot for Kiefer Sherwood. I mean, you're going to get some draft picks, maybe a middling prospect, but nobody's going to break the bank to get Kiefer Sherwood on their team. That's not a difference maker ultimately to NHL franchises. So Quinn Hughes is a difference maker. Quinn Hughes takes a team like the Minnesota Wild and makes them elite, takes a team like the Ottawa Senators and makes them elite, a team that has been making the playoffs but cannot go deep in the playoffs, and takes them to another level. Your LA Kings obviously would love him, but I can't see them trading him within the division. That'd be foolish. So take out Pacific Division teams, look around the league and say, who would offer the most for this guy? Everybody would be offering a lot. And that would jumpstart a rebuild of of sorts for the Canucks. They can't rebuild completely because to rebuild, you have to tear it down to the studs. And I don't mean the great players, I mean the foundation. And that's just icing an absolutely awful team for a couple of years while you build up draft picks, draft capital. And then hopefully when those players are ready to play, you have some pieces in place. We're seeing it in Chicago. We're seeing it in Anaheim. We're starting to see it in San Jose. We've seen it in Ottawa, paying the price or reaping the benefits of a true rebuild. And that's what you need to do. Quinn Hughes would absolutely infuse a lot of draft capital, if not top prospects, into this franchise. If you offered him up to the other 31 teams and took your best offer, regardless of who offered it, even if it was within the division, you had to swallow hard and trade him within the division, you would get elite prospects, elite draft picks. And then you add those over time to the foundational pieces you have in Demko and Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser and Jake DeBrusk. Now you're talking. Now you're talking some hope for the future. But if beyond that, there's simply nothing that interests a team, to my knowledge, that I would say, boy, I wish I could add that to my team.
You don't think any of the players that might be willing to waive their no trade clause are of interest to teams?
Well, they are, but the problem is they control the cards. And so if you're now the Canucks, you don't get max return for these players because they control where they go. If I'm the other team, why would I give you a good return for a player that only wants to come here? He has a no trade clause. He's willing to waive it to come to my city. Okay, I'm offering you the absolute bottom price to get him here because I'm not competing against anybody. Same with the player with a no movement clause. There's no compete here. So it's the only time you're going to get a bidding war is on a guy like Quinn Hughes. And that I can see a bidding war because he's worth it. But a player with a no movement clause and the contracts are problematic. Like, name a player that you would want with a no movement clause or a no trade clause that might waive it that's actually somewhat desirable. Jake DeBrusk, you want to have him till 2031? You want to have Brock Besser on your team until 2032? I don't. I mean,
Well,
that's not a rental.
but there are teams out there that if they think their cup window is open now and it's for the next few years, I don't think they care about year 7 or whatever it is. If they think one of those guys can be a difference maker and it means the difference between you competing for a cup or not, I think there are teams that are willing to do that.
Potentially, but you also have to have a team that has a lot of cap space available. There aren't a lot of those. A team that can absorb a $6 or $7 million cap hit without sending significant players back. There's not many of those teams. Now, there are a few, but I don't know that Carolina is looking to do that. I don't know that Anaheim is looking to add a piece. They've got people to re-sign in the future years. Chicago, maybe, but their window is just opening. They're just building something. We're talking about teams emerging from a rebuild, not in a cup window. So if you look at the teams,
I think Carolina would be probably the perfect example. They're very good, but probably not quite there to compete, right? With your Colorados or your Dallases or whoever, maybe Tampa Bay. They could use something else, and maybe they would. I'm not saying they're going to, turn over, everything for that, but I think that they would be desperate enough to be willing to take on one of those contracts.
Potentially, but again, what are you adding to for a Carolina? If you're looking at their roster, where does that player slot in? Top 6, potentially. But you've got Sebastian Aho. You just went out and paid a lot of money to get Nikolai Ehlers. He has not worked out great, though. He had an impact yesterday. We'll get to that in the second period. Andrei Svechnikov is still being paid like a top 6 player. There's only so many minutes to go around when you get around. Jesperi Kotkaniemi is eventually going to be healthy, you hope. And it's potential. But again, if that's your only piece, I don't think you're getting top value. That's not a rebuild. That's just making a move. And does that help the Vancouver Canucks get better by sending out one of their few good pieces, a Brock Besser, Jake DeBrusk? Now he's gone, and we got a couple of middling prospects or draft picks for him. That's not going to help anything. That's not, what did we do that for? There's no point to that move. It has to be impactful for Vancouver to get better in the future. And sending out one of the few players you have that has value doesn't make you better.
Another Canadian team making some news this week, and that was the Calgary Flames announcing 2-year contract extensions for general manager Craig Conroy and other senior management staff, including President Don Maloney, Senior Vice President of Hockey Operations Dave Nonis, Vice President of Hockey Operations Assistant GM Brad Paschal. They have all now been signed to a contract extension that runs through the 2027-28 season. The interesting part of this to me was that they claim that all of these extensions were signed before the season started. Why they didn't announce it before the season started, I don't know. But and why they've decided to announce it now at this point, I don't know. But they've decided to stick with this group to try and see Calgary through the next few years, getting them in the right direction, they hope. But that was the point of the story that I thought stood out. That they claim they were signed before the season, but we've decided to just announce it right now.
Well, I guess it makes sense in the sense that if it wasn't signed before the season, then what have we seen in the last 2 months that has made you want to retain these people? The Calgary Flames are not trending the right way, and good for them. As I said, I think Ryan Huska kisses his contract before he kisses his wife when he gets home, because he would be a coach on the hot seat, I would think. A team that had 96 points last season and is near the bottom of the standings is one of the other few sellers in the NHL. There's 3 that I can think of that are clear sellers right now. They're all in the Western Conference, and they're all in need of a rebuild from the beginning. So it's, if Calgary believes they have the right people in their front office, I'm in no position to tell them they're wrong. But I also haven't seen a lot of moves in recent years that have made me have a lot of faith in this team as far as the front office. We go back to the Tkachuk trade, Matthew Tkachuk, when he wanted out. We thought they got good return, sending him to Florida for Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar. You're like, wow, that was a very nice trade to get good return for this team. And then Jonathan Huberdeau has been awful since he got there, and has another 6 years at $10.5 million and is already on the other side of 30. So that's a problematic contract. Nazem Kadri has been a good piece to add as a second line center, but he's 35, and by the time this team's ready to compete, he'll be retired. So, and both those players, Huberdeau has a no movement clause, not that anybody would want him, and Nazem Kadri has a no trade clause. People do want him, but he controls where you go. So, I'm curious what they saw in this front office. I have to believe it was done before the season, because, as I said, there's nothing I've seen this season in the last 2 months that makes me think, wow, we got to retain these guys. In fact, it's the exact opposite. If that had not been done, I would think the offer is off the table, and let's see what you guys do the rest of this year before we sign you to an extension.
Yeah, I would assume it was done before the season. Why they didn't want to announce it at that time is very odd. What's the big secret? What's the advantage of holding off on this news?
Why would you announce it, though?
Because it's news, and that's what teams do when they.
I guess. I don't know. A lot of teams are pretty private about that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's for a team in Canada, though, it's surprising that it didn't leak out, because they're covered much more closely than teams here in the United States. By the way, do you know who the goaltending coach for the Calgary Flames is?
I sure don't. Should I?
Yeah, friend of the show, Jason LaBarbera.
For the actual Calgary Flames?
Actual Calgary Flames.
Well, last I had heard, he was in their, I think he was maybe their AHL goalie coach. I know he was in the system, but I did not know he was the big club's goalie coach. Oh, good for him.
Got his glove over my shoulder right there.
Yeah.
Right there, if you're watching on YouTube.
That thing is as stiff as a board, too. Put my hand in there and tried to move it. Could not move it. No. Could not close it. If a puck went flying in that glove, I could not And
No,
I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've got the strongest hands in the world, but I thought I was surprised when I put that in, and then kind of come to find that not all catching gloves are necessarily like a baseball
it's
glove.
not a baseball glove.
Yeah,
No, that
it's
you
almost
just
like a shield.
yeah, it is and it's a game used glove that I got from a Ducks team sale many years ago. And yeah, it's but no, he is their goaltending coach, and we know that the two goalies that they have are both California natives, so a lot of connections to the crease here on the Puck Podcast for the Calgary Flames.
Let's get to the injury news this weekend. Unfortunately, we had some pretty significant injuries. Islanders forward Kyle Palmieri, 6 to 8 months out after knee surgery for a tear in his ACL. We'll kind of mention that during our weekly recap because of something he did as he was exiting the ice
Oh, went
when
out
he
like a
suffered that.
champ.
That was amazing. But yeah, that's obviously tough news for the Islanders. Also in New York, Rangers defenseman Adam Fox placed on long-term injured reserve. He's going to be out multiple weeks. Upper body injury. He took a check into the boards, looked like a shoulder, so he'll
Yeah,
be out for a while. Not as long as Palmieri, but he's going to be out for a while. Blues forward Jimmy Snuggerud going to go undergo surgery on his left wrist. He'll be reevaluated in 6 weeks. Kraken forward Jaden Short's also out 6 weeks with a lower body injury. Ducks goalie Lucas Dostal out 2 to 3 weeks with an upper body injury, and Peter Mrazek suffered a lower body injury. Don't know the significance of that. Maybe you do, but there's some obviously goalie issues right now in Anaheim. Wild forward Marcus Foligno on injured reserve, and Devils forward Evgeny Dadonov out a quote significant period of time, end quote, whatever that means. They're leaving it open to your imagination on that announcement.
yeah. What's a significant amount of time to anybody is very subjective. To a 15-year-old, that's 3 months. To somebody older, it's years, and to a hockey player, though, it could just be a few weeks. But we will see. Devastating to New York. Obviously, the Islanders losing Palmieri. He's been a veteran there for a long time, and they're off to a very good start, and they're changing the culture there. But it's going to move some people around in that lineup, obviously, and it's going to force some players to play in roles they're not used to, both in 5-on-5 and on special teams. For defense, I think Adam Fox was the best skater. Shesterkin has been fantastic in net, but doing what he can, the team doesn't score enough. And Adam Fox has been very good as a defenseman. He's a former Norris Trophy winner, playing significant minutes, playing in all situations. Losing him is devastating to the Rangers for a team that is struggling to stay relevant in a crowded Eastern Conference playoff race. Having him on long-term injured reserve is brutal. Now that's going to put some people again moving up the lineup that maybe not used to those minutes. Gavrikov is going to be playing countered on a little bit more for a little bit offensive, which is not his forte. Will Borgen, Carson Soucy, Braden Schneider, Urho Vakanainen, Scott Morrow, maybe Matt Robertson. Somebody's going to have to step up and play some significant minutes because Adam Fox was playing close to 24, 23 a night. So going to be very difficult for the Rangers, I would think, to withstand this. And when we see this emerge on the other side, potentially they may not even be in the playoff race by the time he gets back. This also has Olympic implications, as we are just a few months now. We're in December, a few months away from the Olympics. And you got to think Adam Fox was a guy that was thought to go. Charlie McAvoy is on long-term injured reserve after getting a puck to the face and requiring surgery. There's a lot of concern for players, not only in the regular season, but the Olympics. And we'll see how these go, but this was brutal news. And then I don't think you had the Jimmy Snuggerud
I
news in there,
did.
did
I
you?
did
Oh, you
mention
did?
Snuggerud. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal for a team that's already struggling to lose one of their best young players. And his development, that's painful for them.
Any update on the Ducks goalie situation?
No, I mean, Dostal's obviously out for at least another 2 or 3 weeks. Mrazek looked like a groin injury that he tweaked there, trying to make a save in yesterday's game against the Blackhawks. Ville Husso is in. They've called up another guy from the ECHL, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, because they want to leave Calais Klang to the AHL for now, and it's going to be the Ville Husso show
Mhm.
until further notice.
Some signings this week and some roster moves to mention. The Montreal Canadiens signed defenseman Mike Matheson, 5-year deal, $30 million. Kicks in after this season, runs through the 2030-31 season. Matheson is 31 years old. He's an 11-year NHL veteran. 4th season in Montreal, 4 goals, 10 assists, 22 games this year. Golden Knights have called up goalie Carter Hart. He is expected to make his debut with Vegas on Tuesday against the Blackhawks. His NHL suspension expired or was up today on December the 1st. Of course, he was involved in that Canadian sex scandal in 2018 that involved 5 members of the Canadian junior team. Of those 5 players that were accused and acquitted of sexual assault, 4 of them are playing hockey right now. Obviously, Carter Hart with the Vegas Golden Knights. You've got Cal Foote, who just signed to play in the AHL. Alex Formanton is playing in Switzerland. Michael McLeod in the KHL. There's only one of the players who's currently not on a hockey team right now, and that is Dylan Dubé.
And it makes you wonder, the Kira Schmid held down the fort very nicely for the Vegas Golden Knights throughout through this long-term injury for Aiden Hill. He got some help. I'm trying to remember. They just waived somebody, Carl Lindbaum. They just waived
Not waived. They put him in the AHL.
Yeah, they put him back to the AHL, correct. And so those two held it down. Now you've got Carter Hart and Akira Schmid. At some point, Aiden Hill is going to be healthy, you would think. He's not dead, and he's their long-term starter. The guy's signed through 2031. And at some point he's healthy, and then you wonder what kind of move they have to make. So I don't have an injury update on Aiden Hill. He's been out most of the season, and I thought he was supposed to be back in early December, but we're now in early December, and they're activating Carter Hart. It'll be interesting to see how he plays. It's been a few years since he's seen NHL action, obviously, and he did get a conditioning stint. He's been playing in the AHL. From what I heard, he didn't exactly tear it up, but we don't know the quality of the team in front of him, the shots he was facing. I didn't get a chance to see him play. So all eyes will be certainly on him on Tuesday night when he takes the crease for Vegas.
One other note of an NHL player that is his name is familiar. The Montreal Canadiens claimed veteran forward Sammy Blais off waivers from the Toronto Maple Leafs. One random shot to throw out there as we wrap it up here. Concerns over the completion of the ice arena for the Winter Olympics continues. Construction on the Santa Gulia ice arena continues to be behind schedule, and they're saying it's going to go down to the wire. It's a new 16,000 seat venue built on the outskirts of Milan, Italy. Organizers were to have I don't know if it was an exhibition game or some sort of contest was supposed to be played there as I guess a test event, I think is what they may have called it. And they postponed that because it just wasn't ready for it. Organizers stay there. They are still confident it will be completed on time. Games are scheduled to start in that arena on February the 5th. That will be women's hockey events, and then the NHL competition, if you will, the men's hockey that includes NHL players, is scheduled to begin on February the 11th. So,
well, they've got 2 months. So it's December 1st. First game is to February 5th. I love the organizers. We're confident. What else are they going to say? We're not sure about this.
There was a headline that got a lot of attention where one of the officials said, "There's no plan B." And I thought, well, yeah, that makes sense because, I mean, this is where the Olympics are being held. I mean, what are they going to do? Hold it in Switzerland or something? You know what I mean?
Right.
They're building this arena for this event, and there's no other option if it doesn't get done. But I don't know. That was kind of the headline. There's no plan B. And I thought, well, yeah, I mean, what else? What would be plan B? It's in Italy, not exactly a hockey hotbed. It's not like, we're being we're holding this in a new arena being built somewhere in Canada, and if it isn't completed, well, we'll just move it a couple miles away or something. There's an arena there, but anyway.
Right. Now it's a problem, obviously, but there is a plan B. I mean, obviously that's stupid to say because it's not like Italy does not have ice hockey arenas. And if this is not ready to go, they will simply move the games. They're not going to risk player safety because, well, damn it, we said they were going to play them here. I mean, the entire country of Italy is eligible. You look back at I believe it was France that hosted the last Summer Olympics, right? And the surfing competitions were held in Tahiti. Why Tahiti? Because that's a French colony. So they're not going to hold it off the coast of France. There's no surfing there. So they held it where it was relevant. And there are hockey arenas in Italy. So if they need to move it to one of them, they will do that. And it's not. I don't think it's. I think it's disingenuous to say there's no plan B. Of course there is.
Well, I don't know this, but my feeling is the hockey, the ice surface will be ready. What this is all about is there are certain codes and standards. If you're going to have thousands and thousands of people inside of a building, there has to be certain standards that are met. If they had to, right, they probably could say, all right, you can play the hockey games, and we've got places where you can put the TV cameras and the announcers, right? But this is about the people that are coming into the arena. Can we feed them? Can they go to the bathroom? All
Right.
that kind of stuff. I think
Right.
that's what this is really about ultimately.
I don't know. I don't know what they're looking at, but I know that there's a. I was looking it up when I saw that headline of "There's no Plan B." I said, "Well, come on, there has to be." And I looked it up, and there's a ice hockey arena in Bolzano, Italy, that hosted the 1994 men's World Ice Hockey Championships. It's still there. It doesn't seat 16,000. It seats 7,000. But who cares? It's ready to go, and they can host the game safely and competitively. And if need be, that's your arena, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
So,
but that's not enough. That doesn't bring in the people that bring the money in.
if you're not cleared to put them in there, and it's an empty arena, that doesn't do it either.
I know. I'm just saying that's why there's no plan B, because we want all that money. We want the most money possible from the people paying
I
the
hear you.
tickets. That's
I
why
hear
there's,
you.
yeah,
But
yeah.
no, it's a bad situation, and we do this every time with the Olympics. These things are always built at the last minute. I don't know why they don't have a deadline of we need these things to be done 6 months in advance, and if they're not, we relocate the event. That's your deadline, because that way we're not doing this 2 months out, and they're working around the clock. I mean, come on. I mean, that thing. It reminds me of the Simpsons episode when they rebuilt the Flanders house, and it was an absolute. It looked great until you actually went inside, and Flanders is like, "I don't think the toilet's supposed to be in the kitchen," and Chief Wiggum's like, "Those things are heavy. I didn't want to take it all the way upstairs." And yeah, you pick up one thing, and the whole thing falls apart. Don't open that door. Just open. It's just a sheer drop on the other side. We didn't have a chance to build that luxury suite, so.
Well, you and I both love the Olympics. You have been to a Winter Games in Salt Lake City. I'm looking forward to the Summer Games being here in Los Angeles and getting to check some events out and things like that. But there's also a lot of poop shows that go along with the Olympics as well. It's usually
Yeah.
something else, that's for sure.
Yeah, I went to the Summer Olympics when they were here in '84, and I went to the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake. Love them. I hope to go again, as you said, in 2028 when they're here. And I know there's a couple of venues that are not far from me. Like Los Angeles is hosting, and Los Angeles is a massive metropolitan area. I'm sure they're hosting them down by you. I think the Pond is hosting some events down in Orange County. So they take in all of Southern California, and we have a lot of professional sporting events and venues that can be made use of.
Yeah, we're not
And
building anything for
No,
anyone.
there's no construction.
No,
Everything
there,
already
there
exists.
may be some Olympic village somewhere. I don't know where, but that might be.
Usually they take over UCLA.
Yeah,
Usually they take over the dorms. But
yeah.
yeah, it's that kind of stuff. And I personally don't know where like the cycling is going to be, but I also don't care. That's not my concern. I know it'll be taken care of. Let's put it that way. Whether they have to build that inside the old LA Sports Arena and make that into a
Oh,
velodrome.
the old LA Sports Arena no longer exists, sir. It is
Oh, did
gone.
they tear that down?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it is gone.
well, there's still plenty of venues.
There are plenty. Okay, that'll. Anything I missed? Anything that you recall from the past week that maybe slipped through the cracks?
Not that we're not going to get into in the next period. No.
All right, then that'll do it for our first period of the YouTube show. If you enjoyed it and you want to check out more, especially us recapping all the games from the past week in the NHL, then you need to go search out the podcast, Puck Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're already listening, then the second and third periods are coming right up. If you are watching on YouTube, we are going to say goodbye now. I'm Eddie Garcia. He's Doug Stolhand, and we'll talk to you next time with another edition of the Puck Podcast.